Hey guys, let's talk about Sunday's episode of Masters of Sex. And it felt like this episode was all about consequences and the consequences for the actions that everybody has taken so far. And Bill really paid the consequence of trying to pay Virginia for the sex that they've been having, basically. In last week's episode, he kind of treated her like she was a prostitute and she wasn't having any of it. And it's been a couple weeks later and they're still at odds with one another. She's all of a sudden now hooking up with Ethan again after Ethan broke off his engagement. And the consequences for Ethan is that Bill is upset with him and so is the provost. So he had applied for, I believe, a position at the hospital and he was denied this position. And when he confronts the provost about it, he pretty much tells him, listen, you're a piece of crap for abandoning my daughter, but I'm not the one who ultimately put the nail in the coffin. That was Bill. And of course, Bill is upset with Ethan because his wife is now pregnant and what this turn of events has put into his life or has turned his life into. So, was Bill more upset that she was pregnant because that meant that he couldn't leave his wife? Maybe. Is he upset that he can't continue having relations with Virginia? Maybe. So yeah, it seemed like everybody's actions were having their consequences in this episode. It was a bit, kind of flat for me, but there was still a lot happening. We found out that Margaret was almost doing a little bit of her own investigative reporting into her husband soliciting prostitutes, but she actually finds out that her husband is gay. And we have that other guy, Dr. Langham. He finds out that he has gotten a girl pregnant who he was in the study with. There's just things happening everywhere. And, who's at fault? Everybody kind of is because they're all kind of doing things that they're not supposed to be doing. And everything is kind of creeping up on them now. And then we had Dr. Lillian DePaul, who's doing her study. And, she's still trying to get funding for this project. And she has reached out to another, I believe he's like a specialist or something at the hospital, and she's reached out for him for some funding, and she kind of takes a different approach and she tries to flirt with him a little bit, and he pretty much puts her in her place and is like, I don't know what you've been told, but I'm a happily married man. And she feels shamed and she scurries back off to her office, and clearly she went about it all the wrong way. And as we know, Bill is obviously in love with Virginia, but he fails to admit it. He won't, confess these sins, and she calls him on it, and she's like, listen, you know that you care about me, and you just don't want to admit it, and I'm done with you. And she decides to quit. And now she's going to be working for Dr. DePaul, and she's going to become her assistant and her, I guess, secretary again. So, that dynamic has changed in a positive way. I guess her and Ethan's dynamic has changed in a positive way. Bill is still Bill, whiny and, angry all the time. But, he pretty much caused his own demise here. He kind of wanted to have his cake and eat it too. And as much as the two of them wanted to act as though what they were doing was for the study, they were really cheating and they were having an affair. And it all got brought to a head, and now they're doing neither. No affair, and she's obviously not helping out with the study. Where will this go next week? Who knows? This whole episode, they were kind of playing out an emergency situation, like what would happen if this happened. And so we kept getting interrupted by like this loudspeaker overhead and everybody going down into, kind of like a stop, drop, and roll, like, as if it was a fire alarm or something. And, so that was playing out throughout the whole episode. But what we pretty much got was everyone facing their consequences and what happened as a result of all of their actions that have led us to this point. So it was an okay episode. We'll see what happens next week. But, Masters of Sex is still trucking on, and I'm still very interested in to see how everything plays out. Will the study continue between the two of them? Will the wife find out that these two have been having sex with one another? All that good stuff still probably needs to rear its ugly head. Okay, guys, that has been my review for Masters of Sex. Leave a comment down below, subscribe, like, and I'll see you next week. Okay, guys, bye.